Discord computer. Cool. Okay, so I'm assuming you had the opportunity to review the Google Doc to the best of your ability, and I know you had some questions in that. So I'm all ears with the goal of to help you guys get clarity and kind of move forward with whatever you want.
So it was good and bad to allow some days to pass. And I know I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. I'm preaching to the choir. But you know, after we get into this, and like in the document, you had a bunch of highlighted or not highlighted purple terms, and so yeah, and so I have been in the process, and I'm still not done.
Sure.
Going through, doing research online, grabbing a quick definition or two, and throwing them into a document.
Yeah.
You know, so I can get a better understanding of everything, cryptocurrency,
Sure.
or
Sure.
DeFi, for lack of better terms. And it has now, while it started out very exciting, and it still is, it has now become scary.
Scary because of lack of understanding and knowledge, or like in what way has it become quote unquote scary?
Okay, the lack of understanding and knowledge, but also the complexity of it all.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
It's a little bit like the Wild West. Like, you know, there's uncertainty of, you know, moving from the East Coast to the West Coast during the 1800s. And I'm not a history buff, so it might have been the 1700s, whenever. But, you know, whenever that time frame happened, the Oregon Trail, you know, and so what ends up happening is, I think I texted this to you the other day, is people tend to prefer the misery of certainty versus the certainty of misery versus the misery of uncertainty. And so people prefer to stay where they are instead of, for lack of a better word, exploring or learning that new thing, growing in it. And that keeps them stuck where they are. Does that kind of make sense?
It does. So with that said, let me ask you this. I'm guessing, you know, you said you shared that document with a handful of people, and I know you, and I'm sure you are talking to people about this concept and everything. Mm-hmm. So I guess my question would be this, like, how in depth and how much discussion did you do with your dad before he invested in it? And I only pick your dad because I know he's participating. Sure. So, but sure. I also know he's your dad, so that situation might be a little bit different than maybe a friend or another family member or someone.
Sure. Well, let me give a little bit of backstory first for that. So particularly with my dad, he had some investments in the stock market that transparently didn't go as planned. And so he found himself, you know, cutting his semi-retiring. He's half retired now. He went from full-time to part-time, and still wants to be able to retire full-time, but doesn't have the certainty of that happening from a financial standpoint. Obviously, here in the United States, we have Social Security, et cetera, but that's only going to give you a base level of income. And the sign at the bank window, do you want a steak retirement or a hamburger retirement? You know, do you want ketchup or A1 sauce? You know, so I don't even like either of those on my steak, but, you know, the point being that that created a level of uncertainty and ultimately a lack of clarity. And so as far as specifically to the purple terms I have in that document, no one needs to memorize or learn all of them, but I would rather people go into something with eyes wide open, or at least knowing, okay, I understand these basic terms. So I understand that I'm buying a Toyota RAV4 versus I actually need a John Deere tractor. So like knowing what vehicle you're getting yourself into and making sure you're quote unquote purchasing the right vehicle, not that there's anything for sale, but just from an analogy standpoint. So like I would not over, I myself am somebody that likes to dig deep on stuff. And so I have no problem spending 15, 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, whatever, understanding all those terms while I'm moving forward with something. Like that doesn't prevent me from taking action. I'm also a quick action taker. So, but I just kind of know that, hey, I've learned these terms and they've helped me understand what I am doing in this world of decentralized finance. And if we take it up one other level, like we hear the term cryptocurrency, what we really need to realize is that this is blockchain is really what it is. And it just so happens we've called something cryptocurrency because it uses cryptography is where we get the crypto. And then we get the currency from quote unquote tokens. So things are tokenized, but I can have what's called an NFT, a non-fungible token that represents a piece of land or a car title or a JPEG, a picture. It doesn't have to be currency like I'm going to go buy pizza with it type stuff, So now because of that, it's an asset. And so that's really what people that invest in the stock market, they tend to look at, oh, my US dollar value, my fiat dollar value of my investment. They don't understand that they're actually buying an asset, and that asset is going to fluctuate in value compared to the US dollar. And so you're actually buying, in that case, a piece of a company, so to speak. In cryptocurrency, you're essentially buying into a piece of a project, a piece of a token. And so, whereas like Microsoft had to, before they went public, they had 11 or 12 years of data and track record before before you and I were even able to invest in it. And so with cryptocurrency, investing, quote unquote, in a piece of a project, in a token, they don't have to have any track record. So there's increased risk there from that standpoint. So yeah, I've kind of gone on like 4 or 5 bunny trails, which is probably not where you wanted to head. But
why would that be risk? That last statement you made, not having a track record.
Well, so it would be just like if a new car came on the market, right? Or the first time you worked with a home builder or whatever. There's a level of risk of the unknown. Now, one reason that I'm in the particular ecosystem, the Night Swap ecosystem that I'm in, is because there is significant track record, not only of the people within the DeFi, within the decentralized finance space, but they actually have real world businesses, and they have more to lose by what's called a rug pull, by stealing people's money. They have more to lose in the real world than they have at risk here in the DeFi space, if that makes sense.
It does.
So now, to your point, Kevin, is it more or less risky? It depends. It's who's involved, right? It may be practically zero risk to me. It may be significant risk to you, or vice versa. So it depends on the person. It depends on where they're at, how close they are to what they want. Are they clear on what it is they want? Most people are chasing more, and that creates its own set of problems. So you have a question, it looks like.
She's mentioned earlier about being scared about stuff. We're on 2 different levels, I think. My fear comes more from lack of support and help understanding
Sure.
the process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the uncertainty.
So I dabbled in commodities, trading options. I mean, stuff like that. So I get where this is coming from as far as exchanges and sure, that type of thing. But you study and you try to learn and understand what's going on, and then you know, you win some, you lose some. I got out of it because I lost more than I was winning.
Sure.
But I didn't have any support, didn't
Sure.
have anybody helping. You know, I'm trying to learn from mistakes until you eventually run out of money and you still find that you haven't learned it all, you know?
Sure. Sure. It becomes a
And
job, right? Like,
exactly.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
that's what I don't, you
Correct.
know, want. But the other thing too is the commodity trading was very time based.
Sure.
In other words, you couldn't leave anything sitting for more than a month or two at the most
Yeah.
before you either had to pull or sell or get out and re-op. But this sounds like you set up a base and just leave it alone, kind of.
The people that earn the most, I don't want to say earn the most. The people that are the most successful in this in their own way are the ones that set it and forget it. I jokingly call it the Ronco model, right? You know, like you guys are not old enough, but you're mature and wise enough to remember Ronco.
I know Ronco. Come on,
Yeah.
Jason. I'm older than you are, and so is he.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to be respectful of my elders here, okay?
Yeah.
So
He know Ronco.
yeah. What Ron Lapille, I think his name was. So, anyways, like it's this,
He had the spray on hair.
yeah, he did. I obviously missed that commercial.
Yeah,
So,
I did too.
yeah.
Yeah, we had the same barber.
Yeah. So, yeah. So there's ways to what I call push more buttons, and be more active in it. Historically, the people that just, you know, the community that I'm really kind of a part of is called the Wolf Den. That's where some of this IP and strategy and that comes from. They're saying is base case and chill, like literally whatever that means to you. If chilling is on the beach, cool. If chilling is spending more time with your kids, cool. If chilling is working your business or a job, knowing that whatever it is you want, whether that's retirement, whether it's a beach house in the future, whatever, the whole goal is designed to move you closer to what you want. And what you want is very possibly, more than likely, different than what I want, especially when we get down to the specificity of it, right? When push comes to shove at a base level, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we all want enough. We all want to have a roof over our head, shelter, food, you know, be able to procreate, etc. And so those sorts of things, there is a dollar amount associated with that. That dollar amount for me living where I live may be different where you live versus somebody living in Southeast Asia, etc. I have a friend of mine that's very heavy into what's called the GameFi, meaning people are actually playing video games to earn tokens. And a lot of his employees or team members are based out of the Philippines, earning 10, 20 times more than they could have ever envisioned in their life living in Southeast Asia. Yet that's a fraction of what we have here in the United States. So he's providing jobs and real value to people, revolutionizing their life. And so that's where like the power of this comes in. And from a Kingdom Treasury standpoint, you know, kind of the base case and build that I'm trying to steward here is that I think there's massive opportunity to revolutionize the kingdom of God. Not that he needs our money, but that ultimately people here on earth do in fact need our money. And so my son just ran across the street in his swimsuit to a neighbor's house that I don't even know has a pool. So I don't know what that one's all about, but hey, that'll be, I probably got a text message. Oh, neighbor just got a pool. He's going over to the neighbors. So there you go. Anyways, how's that for ADD for you? So,
Good for.
so yeah, so go ahead.
Does the Wolf Den have a support group?
Sure, absolutely. They have different tiers that people can go through. To be honest with you, you can do everything that you need to do without the Wolf Den. One reason I specifically created Kingdom Treasury, and I've toyed with the idea of having a quote unquote support group. You know, while I could be the only one funding the private foundation aspect of Kingdom Treasury, I don't necessarily want to be the only one doing it. You know, I kind of like the idea of having other people come alongside. And I've toyed with the idea of charging, like, for argument's sake, like $100. And that's like lifetime access to it. And that $100, you know, whatever, if I got 10 people into it, that's 1,000 less bucks that I need to come up with, type thing, you know. But to provide that kind of support. The Wolf Den has tiers. They just redid the tiers. I don't remember what it costs to get into it at the moment. For the Christian audience, I will say that Nick, the founder, is a little rough around the edges, which is cool. I mean, I understand, because he's actually managing other people's monies. And so to some degree, he has to be rough around the edges in order to protect his people, you know, that he's managing money for, et cetera. So I don't want to be in the business of managing people's money, you know, for a variety of reasons, but I don't have a problem helping people understand what they need to. So yeah, so I've toyed with that idea. I don't know, maybe you guys will be the first to join the quote unquote Kingdom Treasury support group or whatever. That, you know, we can talk about that or whatever offline. And that money would not come to me. It would literally go to be funding the ministry, the donation aspect of Kingdom Treasury is how I would set it up. But yeah, so, and the reason I would do that, just to be transparent, is because, like, yeah, I've got you guys here. I've got another meeting in a couple hours. I mentioned to you, a father and son. You know, I've got 15 or more micro groups or people that are like, hey, this makes sense. I want to proceed with something like this. Can you help me? And if you're starting to get, you know, 5 texts, 10 texts a day and phone calls from 15 different people, you know, I need to be able to have some sort of boundaries, and also a safe place to communicate the same information inside, like a Discord channel or something like that, to where I can say something once and then point people to it and say, instead of saying the same thing to 15, 20, 100 different people, if that makes sense.
It does. It does. Yeah. That does make sense.
I mean, are you trading through Wolf Den, Wolfie's Guardian? Is that what you're doing?
When you use the word trading, can you define how you mean the word trade? Buy low, sell high.
Do you have an account with them?
So the Wolf Den is not a trading platform or anything of that. It's an educational community with their goal is to help people that are purpose driven to do good in the world. Okay. And transparently, there are Christians in that group. I know several of them, but there's those Christians are able to handle the rough around the edges and the language that's thrown around sometimes, etc.
Right.
And I know that that's not necessary. So
are they a broker?
No. That's what I'm trying to. That's why.
Let me see if I can explain it, only because it will help me to verbalize it, and then you can correct or clarify.
Sure.
So is the Wolf Den simply a community that helps people interested in decentralized finance and how to, quote, invest? Yep. Now, you did mention something earlier that I'm not real sure about, that they have different tiers. Sure. Explain to me the tiers within the Wolf Den community.
They own they have their own NFTs, NFWs, correct?
Which essentially are the ways to progress through the tiers. So let me answer both Kim's question and Kevin's question, okay? One, the Wolf Den is not a trading platform. Night Swap, Dark Night Swap, are decentralized exchanges, aka trading platforms. Now, they are, and I want to use the word exchange instead of trading platform, because there are other platforms like Bogged Finance, which will allow you to, quote unquote, trade on limit orders and all this other stuff. There's, I believe it's KuCoin and possibly Binance.com allow for options trading on some of the blue chips like Bitcoin and all that kind of stuff.
But those are centralized.
Yes. Some of them are centralized, not all of them.
That's
but
right.
Some of them.
And based on what you're saying, and based on what I've been reading, I already do centralized because I have a bank.
That's right.
I am not in favor of that at all, based on what I'm learning and reading.
Correct.
I'm more into the future early adopter of decentralized finance. So I
Correct.
don't really want anything to do with Bitcoin and Ethereum and any of those centralized organizations, if you will.
So yeah, Bitcoin and Ethereum are decentralized, but like crypto.com, coinbase.com, binance.us, those are all centralized exchanges. And the primary difference between a centralized exchange and a decentralized exchange is that they, the company, own your private keys versus you owning your private keys. In that sense, it's just like your bank. Or if, let's say that every time you wanted to enter your home, you had to call up somebody and say, I'm home, let me in.
Yeah,
So
that's out.
The only reason I currently use a centralized exchange is to onboard fiat and offboard fiat, because it's the most efficient path, especially for people first coming on. And I'm not trying to hide anything from the government. I'm not trying to hide anything from the IRS. So I have no problem. I still got to file my taxes. I still got a great CPA that helps me through all this and so forth. So, yeah, I feel like I'm missing the answer. I'm not answering the question. So to Kevin's point, what will probably help is I'll share my screen in just a moment and show you kind of, in your terms, the trading aspect, but specifically to what you're asking, Wolfies is the currency of the Wolf Den. If you want to join the Wolf Den community, you're going to have to buy Wolfies, which is a token. You're going to have to stake Wolfies for an NFW, which is their version of an NFT, which basically gives you access on different tiers. Now, what's the difference in the tiers, which is what Kim asked, correct? So yeah, the difference in the tiers is, number one, you don't have to be in the Wolf Den to do everything. Case in point, you could follow the document that I've provided and set it and forget it and just check in and out whenever you wanted to. You do not have to join Kingdom Treasury. You do not have to join Wolf Den, okay? So all the information's out there. It's decentralized. Now, let's say you wanted some more proximity to Nick, or you wanted more proximity to me through Kingdom Treasury, to answer questions, to handhold a little bit more, to have community instead of just a bunch of random people you're trying to get information from on the internet type thing. That's where in the Wolf Den, they have like Wolf Pup, and then they have, I think, Wolf Leader, Alpha, and then they have 2 other top tiers. The information is pretty much all the same. What the difference is, you're getting closer to the source, so to speak. You get more access to people, like through Nick. He has several multi-million-dollar companies. His business partner, Dan Nicholson, wrote the the accounting standards for Microsoft. Randy Maslow was in the late 90s, was the personal advisor to Bill Gates. So like, you get proximity to those people, but there are requirements to get there. For example, I know to be Alpha Wolf, you have to have $100,000 in the farming system, which is what I'll kind of show Kevin here in just a second, and is covered in the document. So, you know, and the reason they do that is, one, they want to instill and teach patience. They want people to slow down, because one of the number ways you get wrecked in any investing is to move fast. You know, the other day I cost myself $40. I didn't cost myself $40, but you know, I spent $40 more than I needed to on something because I didn't realize I already had what I needed in my wallet. So I double bought it, which is fine. It didn't hurt me. I just did something else with it. But had I taken a couple seconds and slowed down and said, okay, do I have this in my wallet? Yes. Okay, well, I don't need to buy that. I'll use that money for something else, you know, or whatever. So, so have I answered both questions that you guys had? And would it be good to kind of share the screen from a visual standpoint? I know I talk about it in the document, but like, I want you guys to I want to be able to answer what you need and serve you best. So how?
I'm good with that. That was a good explanation of Wolf Den. I like that, Kevin.
Yeah. Yeah, you can share the screen. That'll work. I think I've seen it. I mean,
Sure.
I've watched a lot of videos on Wolf Den.
Yeah.
And
kind of like a fire hose to the face, huh?
Yeah, he showed the ape farm and buying bananas and Guardian and
Yeah, so that's way early. Yeah, that's way early stuff before they owned their own decks.
That's different, different BNB.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead. Let me see what you got.
Are you seeing my screen here?
Yes.
We are barely. We
Oh.
might have to. We're on my phone, obviously.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, because we don't have a computer with my laptop doesn't have a camera.
Okay.
But
Well,
I can zoom in. I zoomed in, so I'm good. You
cool.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so a couple things. So I'll just start here at the home page here. I'm going to scroll down. You can see Night Swap. So this is the Binance side, the BSC, Binance Smart Chain side. In decentralized finance, more specifically in blockchain, there are different networks. Think of them like car manufacturers, okay? Ford, Toyota, Chevy, Mitsubishi, Ferrari, Lamborghini, all that kind of stuff, okay? So there are different chains. There's the Kronos chain, which is crypto.com. There's the Binance Smart Chain, which is Binance. There's Ethereum, there's Bitcoin, there's Avalanche, Polygon. Okay, so this is built on the Binance Smart Chain. They also have a carbon copy of this on the Phantom chain. Okay, different advantages to both. Not everything that's currently available on Binance on the BSC side, not all of that is currently available on the Phantom side, because they're focusing energies and priorities and that sort of stuff. But when we talk about how much TVL, which if you think about like a bank, how much liquidity do they have, how much money do they have locked up, so to speak, there's 300, just went up over 303, just changed over to $304 million, over $250 million from real world businesses and people like you and me are into this. And so, and that places from a total value locked, Night Swap, I believe it's number 4 or number 5 on the Binance Smart Chain as far as liquidity goes. Okay. Like, let me just show you, let's see here. A little bit of stats on it. Okay. Volume in the last 24 hours, over $3 million have been quote unquote traded. Not in the same way like a stock exchange, although some people might use it that way. Most of the people are doing what's called farming. Okay, so let me get back here to the farms. Farms. And more specifically, the primary farm that Kingdom Treasury and the Wolf Den is built around is the Guard BUSD liquidity pair. Okay. Guard is a token, right? It's arguably a currency, but in the blockchain, it's called a token. Guard has been designed to be a treasury asset where people store money that they don't want to lose, similar to Bitcoin. Okay. So Bitcoin is arguably a store of value. Gold is arguably a store of value. Guard has been designed to be a treasury asset, a store of value. It's paired with BUSD, which is a stable coin. Okay. Stable coin meaning there's a 1-to-1 peg to the US dollar. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So by pairing Guard with BUSD, you remove the fluctuation, the volatility of the market, which in this case is BNB, Binance coin. Okay. So now you can see Night has their DEX token paired with BNB, but there's also Night paired with BUSD. And then you can see, well, the platform paired BNB with BUSD. Those are all different liquidity pools and functionality, utility that facilitate the transactions on the website. Does that make sense?
Kind of.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if I wanted to exchange, let's say that I wanted to buy Guard, okay? And I'm on the Binance Smart Chain, so I'm going to initially have BNB, okay? In order to buy Guard, there's no Guard BNB pair, so it would go through BNB to BUSD and then BUSD to guard is how you would quote unquote buy it. It's a route that it follows. So, and you'll notice that I think it says core farm. It used to, does it not say core anymore? I don't see core, but you can kind of tell by the multipliers, 45x, 60x, 15x, 10x down here. You can kind of tell that those are a core farm, meaning they provide a lot of utility to the decks. But so I don't want to go any deeper technically there. What you're most interested in is that by the base case is trying to solve a problem. Okay, that problem being whatever math number and whatever timeline you need to get what you want. Maybe, I don't know, I'm just going to choose retirement because it's an easy one. At some point in life, everybody wants to retire. And let's say that I do all the math and my living expenses are $100,000 a year. And I estimate I'm going to live another 20 years. So in theory, I need $2 million at minimum working, stashed away somewhere so that I could pull out 100,000 a year. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like those are obviously rough numbers. We're not considering compounding or inflation and all this other stuff that we can deal with. But let's say my solvable problem is $2 million. If we go back to what I said earlier in the conversation about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and if you look at one of the visuals I have in the document there, which I can actually pull it up.
I can pull it up too. I got it.
Yeah, I'm just going to do it on the screen here.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't read this on the screen.
Yeah, we can't. I mean, keep in mind we're on our phone, so
I know you'll be able to watch
saying,
it back.
What page are you on in your document?
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Okay, that's cool.
Okay, I just got to find it. Solvable problem, optional example, break the cycle math. There's a particular image I'm looking for, and unfortunately I don't remember what page it's on. So
what's the image?
It's the triangle that says enough at the bottom. And
Yep. I thought it was almost toward the end.
Yeah, that's what I'm almost there. That might have been it. No. Here we go.
Got it.
Cool.
Look at page 41.
Yep, that's where. Yeah, I'm on 40 and 41.
Yep.
So yeah, if you look at page 40, and again, I'm here on the sharing it on the screen also. This bottom, that enough, we would call that your $2 million or whatever your solvable problem is. And let's say again, you want to retire in 10 years. So in 10 years, I want to have $2 million, or in 5 years, I want to have $2 million so I can retire, whatever. Your enough number is whatever seed capital that gets you to that number in your timeline. So you don't need to put in $2 million because you're earning interest, et cetera. You may only need to put in, $50,000 or $10,000 or whatever the math equals. And we can go down and I can show that to you if you want. But that enough is what this base case, the guard BUSD as the primary base case, earning 70% APY a year. So I'll just go here real quick. And let's say my goal was 2 million and I'm getting 70% a year, which is the estimate on that. I put in 1, 2, 3. Well, that's the goal. Oh no, I'm sorry. I put in principal amount. I'm on the wrong one, I think. I think I can do it this way. Let's say I had $10,000 and I was getting 70 a year. And I'm going to put 10 years and calculate. That would get me $9 million in 10 years. If I had $10,000, that's 70%. Okay. What if I only put in $5,000? Because again, I'm just trying to get to $2 million for argument's sake. Okay. I could put in $5,000. Let's cut that down to 3,000. And there we go. I could even cut it down probably to 2,500. Close enough, right? So my enough number is $2,500. I can get there by putting $2,500 in at once. I can get there by putting in $100 a month for 25 months, whatever. But if my timeline was 10 years, and I had $2,500, I would have at 70% APR.
APY.
Yeah,
APR?
APY. This one's showing.
APY.
Yeah. So this one's doing just a little bit more than that. I have another calculator that's I linked to in the document that's a spreadsheet that does it as well. But does that make sense, right? So let's say that so your enough number is not 2 million, your enough number is that 2,500. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Yeah.
it does.
Yeah.
Right. Because you have to have, it does make sense. I understand.
Let me ask you this. Say you have a family emergency or something, you need to pull out fiat. You need to convert that back to fiat. How difficult is that?
Just reversing the process. So for example, this is what I use most and tell people to use the most, just because again, it's easy and kind of straightforward. Crypto.com. I connect my debit card when I sign up for an account on crypto.com, which is a centralized exchange. I don't own my keys, but I'm only using it for split moments in time to move money on and off. Okay. So I'm okay with that amount of risk. I don't think in the couple of minutes to 24 hours that it's going to take me to get my money on and off, I don't think crypto.com is going to, screw me over type thing. Okay. So crypto.com is one I use. There's a couple of others, but that's my primary choice. Connect my debit card. If I sign up for a new account, my first 30 days are transaction fee free. So I can move whatever I think it's $25,000 a week, I think in the first 30 days, I can onboard that, right? Connect my debit card. I can do a wire. I can do it in ACH. There's many different ways. I buy my BNB. I transfer it to my MetaMask wallet. So I take it off of the centralized exchange and move it over to the decentralized exchange, which my MetaMask wallet is what manages that. I own those private keys. And then I take that BNB and I basically buy Guard and I buy BUSD. I pair it and I'm cooking. I can drop that on the manual thing, or I can put it in the auto compounder. And it's just the reverse of that. If I wanted, go ahead. You want to ask a question?
Is all that what you just said in your thing you sent us?
Yeah, it's in there.
Okay.
Towards, I think I give 2 or 3 examples of it. So, and like I said, there's like some nuance to it. For example, like I know that crypto.com, when you add an external wallet, they make you wait 24 hours now, so that wasn't there when I first started, but those are the sorts of things where inside the Wolf Den, people can help you if you wanted to go that route. Or if I had enough people interested, I would do probably Kingdom Treasury, support group, so to speak. So that's basically, it's like 4 or 5 steps to get your money on. Now, let's say you only had it in a stable coin. You didn't pair anything. Well, you're down to 2 or 3 steps instead of 4 or 5, right? So to take money out, to fiat out, and I'm going to assume that we had the base case of Guard BUSD, okay? Guard is a treasury asset. My last thing I ever want to do is sell my Guard, but in an emergency, I might need to, okay? Now, let's say that emergency was not that drastic. Okay, I didn't need to sell my Guard, and let's just, I don't know, I'm not going to say I had $10,000 in my base case. That means I have $5,000 of Guard and I have $5,000 of BUSD stablecoin. Does that make sense so far? Because it's split 50-50.
Kinda. I'm a little lost, but that's all right.
Okay, that's, you know what?
I'm
Let
with
me
you.
draw it on my iPad because I'm very visual, so that'll help.
If you had enough Guard, you would want to get or buy a Knight.
Okay. So yeah, so there's some, I don't want to say misunderstandings, but there's just some clarity I need to provide. So are you seeing my iPad or no?
No, it's spinning.
Oh, okay.
It's spinning.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Here we go. Wait
Cool.
a minute.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
okay, let me answer that second question first because it'll provide context. Okay. So the question was, I have my Guard BUSD.
Wait a minute. Okay, hold on. This is going to be kind of tough for us to see.
Okay.
I have to zoom out, but when I try and, oh, okay, here we go. Hold on. Okay. I think we're with you.
Okay, cool. So I've got my guard BUSD liquidity pair. Okay. That is earning Knight DEX token. Okay. So that answers
LP stands for liquidity pool.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Okay. And so a liquidity pool exists just once you create that pair, it exists. I'm now taking that liquidity pool and farming with it. I planted my liquidity pool in a farm that grows me Knight token. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. This Knight token is a buying power asset. Okay. What does that mean? That means I can use that to acquire other assets without selling it. Much like going back to the home analogy, I have my home, let's say it's 2,000 square feet, and every day, every week, every month, whatever, I'm earning some amount of new square footage for that home. I can decide to keep that square footage in my home. I can decide to take that square footage and sell it off and get stablecoin or something else that I want. I can decide to stake that, to loan out, for lack of a better word, that square footage in my home and earn a third-party token that I sell off that I don't care about. Okay. So all of that's outlined in the document, but the key to know, oops, I don't want to push that. Oh my gosh. Come on here. The key to know is that Knight is a buying power asset. And because I have it in a farm, I'm earning that Knight token. Okay. I can go and put that in a raid, like I just said, earn a third-party token, sell it off, whatever. Or I can drop it in an auto compounder, and where it sells half my Knight, buys guard, sells the other half of the Knight, buys the BUSD, and it's just auto feeding back into this. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So to your question, how do I get money out? Well, there's several things. I could sell some Knight because I've earned some Knight, could sell that to stable coin. Okay. And then I just reverse my process of onboarding. I just do it backwards. I just take my stable coin over to crypto.com, exchange, and then sell it to fiat, and crypto.com puts it into my personal bank account.
Now, when you say sell at any given day, you could get more or less for it when you're selling it?
Yes, because Knight has a price associated with it. Like right now, it's 56.6 cents is the Knight price. So if I were to exchange, Knight for a stable coin, BUSD or USDC, USDT, there's a lot of them. I would get roughly 2 to 1, right? Let's say that Knight went up to 75 cents. Well, then I would get $1.25 or whatever that math is for 2 of them. And then let's say it went down to 25 cents. Unlikely to happen, in my opinion, but let's just say it got cut in half. Well, then I would need twice as many Knight to equal that same dollar value. But what I always encourage people to do is, like, price of a buying power asset is irrelevant to me, because even theoretically, if it goes to 0, it can still get me something else. How so, Jason? Well, going back to the house analogy, I have a house, 2,000 square foot. Let's say over the period of time, I earned an extra 500 square feet on my house. My house itself is now worth more, and the bank will give me a HELOC, a home equity line of credit, against my 2,500 square foot house. That's going to be more, quote unquote, money or more equity versus somebody that had a 2,000 square foot house. It, again, not a perfect analogy, but I hope it works.
Yeah.
Okay. So, answering your question, you have another question, or you want me to continue answering the first one?
I've got one quick question.
Go ahead.
It'll be a yes or no. When you first started doing this, and you mentioned a second ago, you tie a debit card to your Binance or your centralized account, I guess.
Yeah, crypto.com. Yeah.
There you go. That's right, crypto.com. Let me ask you this: when you first started doing this, did you go ahead and open a separate bank account just in case? Because the thought of tying my one and only debit card to something like this right now is kind of scary.
Sure. Uh, The short answer is I did not open up a completely separate bank account. As a business owner, I have quite a few bank accounts. So
Oh, okay, right.
we had like a savings account that I just moved the money into and connected that debit card. Essentially, you're just making a purchase just like you would on Amazon.com or Walmart.com or Joe Blow's fitness site or whatever, it's e-commerce. So you still got all the bank level encryption, et cetera. Perhaps if I'm reading into what you're asking, a risk would be, well, what's preventing them from locking up my bank account or whatever? I mean, like, not that I have experience in this, but my understanding is like that would have to be a sanction that came upon you from the SEC or whatever. They could, your bank, what happens more times than not is most debit cards are not set up, are not permissioned to make crypto purchases. So your first transaction will most often decline because your bank's trying to protect you. So you just call your bank up or get on their help chat or whatever and say, hey, I'm trying to make this purchase online. It's not going through. And then they'll whitelist crypto.com or whatever. So, but to your point, yes, you can go get a new bank account. They will not do it on credit cards. It does have to be a debit card.
Gotcha.
Credit card companies are very anti-crypto at this point in time. And so, yeah, you could have a savings account that has a debit card attached to it. My concern about savings accounts is that savings accounts have a $10,000 not like if you go to the bank and try to pull out 10,000 cash fiat, like you have to fill out a form. Savings accounts have a maximum that you can pull out in a certain time period because it's a savings account versus a checking account. And I feel like that's $10,000 or some amount in 30 days or something like that. But anyway,
so the debit card you use is actually tied to your checking account.
Yeah, just one of my checking accounts. I have many.
Okay, that's fine. And I'm only asking that because like you do have a business account and everything's set up. Ken and I do not.
Sure.
We have one bank, one debit card, one joint. I mean, we run our mortgage accounts through there. We deal with one financial institution is what I'm getting at.
Sure.
And so
You're
didn't
centralized.
What?
You're centralized.
Well, exactly. And they piss me off constantly. Let me just tell you,
Yep.
I hate dealing with the bank,
Yep.
but I know to switch, I'm just moving one set of problems to another set of problems.
Yep.
I just hate it. I absolutely hate it. But that's why I was asking the question. I don't really have an issue with tying it up. If you don't see any, I'm more worried about me screwing something up than the bank screwing up. Honestly.
Sure.
But anyway, that's
with
fine.
barriers, putting bumpers, barriers, boundaries, hurdles in the process to help to reduce risk and provide emotional certainty. I don't have a problem with that.
You think you could do all this from a cell phone?
Yes, you can. A lot of people do. I personally don't like the cell phone reason or option for a couple of reasons. One, when I first got on board like 8-9 months ago, MetaMask was having some problems with their mobile wallet and was forcing me to create new private keys. And I was just like, I don't want that headache. I'll just stick with my computer. Also, cell phones are a little bit easier to lose, get stolen. Yeah, but I have a friend of mine who does it on his computer and has his MetaMask now connected to his cell phone. He checks it all the time mobily. I know some friends that actually have a dedicated crypto computer. It is air gapped. It does nothing but crypto. It goes online to do crypto and goes right back offline to get crypto. They have it locked down as you can get locked down. You could have a external hardware wallet. This is a ledger. There's a Trezor that I'm going to be getting, where it's a 2-factor authentication. You have to push in a code on your external hardware wallet before the transaction on the virtual MetaMask wallet will go through. That's another layer of security. So yeah, there's pros and cons, right?
Yeah, I've created an account with MetaMask, and I can't get it
On your mobile phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you see that?
Yeah, you're just talking about the networks. Yep, I see it.
Right. Well, if you scroll up, there's supposed to be an option at the bottom, RTC or something,
RPC.
and
Yeah.
it's not there.
Can you scroll down for me, like back up to the top of the list? Yeah, there's supposed to be an option to add new networks. So click close. If you click close there, it's at the very bottom. Click close, and then there should be options somewhere, like over on the hamburger menu on my left. It might be your right. I'm not sure. The camera's reversed it. There should be like add networks or something. Settings. Is it? Yeah. And then there's like an add networks feature. Yeah. Scroll down to networks. Right there. Click networks. And then there should be an add down there at the bottom, right? Or no? I can't see your finger. Add network. Yeah, it is. That's what you would do. You would add. So now you would add the Binance chain, which I don't remember if I put those details in.
I've got it.
Okay.
I got it on my phone.
Okay. So
right
yeah.
Here.
And just like don't tell me your password or your private keys, but you wrote down your private keys somewhere, correct? On like a piece of paper?
You wrote down your private keys somewhere, like on a piece of paper?
Yes, I did. Are you talking about like this page here? Where it's got the chain,
yeah.
Reserve.
So that's for the Wolfies contract. The Wolfies is on the Binance Smart Chain. I can't see it good enough on your screen there. There's a glare to see what it's showing. Though none of that information right there, none of that information is going to be your RPC stuff. So that's not going to be your adding your network, but I can get that to you. You can find it online. I think I put a link to it in the document. If not, I probably should. But I do have the MetaMask chain thing on my phone, and I guess I need to delete that and get it off. So yeah, by MetaMask chain, I don't really know what you mean by that. Do you mean just the application, the wallet, not the chain, the private keys? Security keys, yes. Yeah. So like you took a screenshot of them? Yes. yeah. That's I would kill that wallet. Okay. So how do you kill this wallet? You just go and like delete your account or never log back into it again. But you're going to be, when you set up MetaMask, now that being said, MetaMask may have an option to reset your private keys. I vaguely remember seeing that. Let me see. I'm logged into mine. Let me see if, and I don't know, the mobile might be different. Account settings. I think like there's a reset, security and privacy, reveal secret phrase, change password. Yeah, that's different. Okay. Advanced, download, sync, reset account. Resetting your account will clear all transactions. This will not change your balances, and you'll need to re-enter. Yeah, they're each quote unquote, I hesitate to say wallet because there are different terminologies, but each MetaMask account, let me say it this way. MetaMask is a virtual private wallet, okay, if that makes sense. And when I say virtual, it's not even virtual. It's on the blockchain. MetaMask is just... Is it hooked to the internet? Yeah. It is, okay. The blockchain resides on the internet, and it's an anonymous and transparent ledger. So the only reason I would know that that wallet address is yours is if you shared your wallet address with me and said, hey, this is me. Otherwise, it could be some guy in Indonesia. Numbers. Yeah. It's just random numbers. Okay. It's all encrypted. So now but that private key because you have a screenshot on your phone, and I can almost guarantee that your screenshots are saved to the iCloud. Your photos are syncing with the iCloud. When iCloud, not if, when iCloud gets hacked, somebody now has your private keys. So my process for private keys are you write them down on a piece of paper. I write it down 3 times. One goes in my safe at home. One goes in a safe in my community, whether that's at a relative that has a waterproof, fireproof safe, whether that's at a bank that I trust, a local community bank with the safety deposit box. And then a third one gets mailed across the country to another trustworthy custodian and stored in a fireproof, waterproof safe. I have 3 backups of it. Why? If my house living in Florida gets struck by a hurricane or a tornado, it's not my particular other one's about 15 miles away from me. It's unlikely. A hurricane, yes, 15 miles it could hit. A tornado is probably not going to destroy my house and one 15 miles away. Probability. Okay. The likelihood of my house and that second location being destroyed by a hurricane and a tornado, and the other one across the country being destroyed by fire or hurricane or tornado at the same time is like the probability is 0. Okay. So never store your private keys online. Never share them with anybody, except like my spouse knows how to access them if something happens to me. My spouse and I have separate wallets. I say spouse, my wife. I'm not gay. Kim knows that. She just saw me a couple of weeks ago, so she knows my wife. So yes.
So you don't use password manager, none of that, nothing online to store any of that private key information.
Not the private key.
Right.
I do store my login password in a tool called LastPass. Specifically LastPass because in the late 90s or so, it might have been early 2000s, it was really developed out of the University of Kentucky, a security incubator that they had there. It's the strongest one out there, in my opinion, even though today they all use the same. It's got a good pedigree is probably the way to put it.
Yeah, I use RoboForm. I've heard a lot about LastPass, but I do pay an annual fee to use a password.
We do that for LastPass. I've got all my bank stuff in there. So yes,
me too.
The nice thing about LastPass is it's a no-see policy. So even the people working on their databases, all that is encrypted. Nobody can get into the actual password itself. So in theory, could somebody store their private key as a secure note in LastPass because nobody can see it? In theory, yes, but I don't want to take that risk. My password, they still have to have my private key, or be on my computer. And then if they're on my computer, they better have my 2-factor hardware wallet authentication. There again, I've got secure. I used to work in the IT world, so there is no such thing as 100% bulletproof security. There's only hurdles, and when you start to get to 7 layers of hurdles, that's when it begins to be the diminishing rate of return for whatever the hackers are going to try to get. You're at 10, 12, 13 obstacles. The return is so little, unless you've got, $1 million worth of Bitcoin or guard or whatever. It might be worth it. But it's going to take somebody 6 or more months to try to get to that. And they still got to have my external hardware wallet. They got to hunt me down wherever I'm at in the world and cut off my right finger. It's not probable. So, meanwhile, they can go to my Bank of America account any day they want and take my money. And I'm only insured up to 150,000 by the FDIC. So what does it even matter? So anyways, what other questions you guys have? We touched on a whole bunch of stuff. I'm not trying to cut us off. I've got time to chill. I love this stuff. I want to make sure that you have asked the questions that give you certainty and clarity to make a decision. And not that you need to make a decision today. Again, I'm not selling anything, but I have my time available to you. So I want to make sure that I help you as best as I can here.
I think we need to, I know I'm not sure about Kevin, but I know I need to learn some more and continue processing this.
Sure.
I guess the most compelling thing that you said today was when you answered Kevin's question about the fact that the Wolf Den community, for example, and you know, highly recommend if you, when you get started, it's not something you have to do every single day. You put it in there and leave it alone.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yes, that's absolutely, there's a couple of paths with that. There's an auto compounder version where it does all the manual actions of selling and repairing for you. Yeah, it's a no-brainer, and it's the Ronco model. There's I have enough capital in, I've covered my enough. So my enough, that initial seed capital to get me to whatever my financial goal was in my financial time frame that was going to get me all the things in real life that I want, I've already reached that enough. So anything,
a 5-year or 10-year, or
I just did 10 years, but I'll be transparent with you. Time has collapsed so rapidly already. I haven't redone the numbers, but I would say that I'm probably 5 to 6 years.
Are you checking daily?
So I love pushing buttons. I'm a recovering button pusher. When I first started out, I had my team make me a spreadsheet so that I pushed all the freaking buttons inside the spreadsheet and didn't mess with anything on the actual farms. That lasted about 30 days. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to be pushing buttons. Like literally, I don't want to sound like, I don't know, pious or whatever, but literally, like, we traveled out of town last week for a week and hit the road. And part of that is design because our business is in location independent. Our son's schooling is location independent. If one of our clients is listening, please forgive me, but there's a project I haven't touched in a week and I need to touch it. And I don't want to touch, I don't want to push buttons. So you can do as much or as little as you want. I have enough capital that I've reached my enough, that I'm now earning enough night. I'm earning enough dark night on the Phantom side. I take advantage of token launches to try to get collapse time, right? The other 3 weeks ago, I put $500 into something for, 2 weeks later, it's worth $2,500. Okay. Now that happens to be a project I believe in. So I've not sold it, but if it was a project I didn't care about, and I was just in for the moonshot or the time collapser, as I call it, I could have shortened my time span by several months just by taking that $2,500 and putting it back into the base case or whatever.
Right.
So you can do auto compound. You just set it and forget it. You can put it in the manual farm and then once a week, once a day. So that gets back to, right. Let me just show you my screen one more time because this. Okay, you can see my screen okay? Oh.
You can't use those. Those are prescription.
Yeah.
Hang on
He
a minute.
couldn't read his private keys if he had to anyways.
No. Here, you just tell me where you are in your
Page 40.
Yeah, there we go. Okay,
Yeah.
I got it.
Figure 8, prudent versus intricate. Enough down there, okay? Auto compounder, put it in the auto compounder, set it and forget it until you're on track. Then you go up to balance. How much time how many buttons do I personally like to push? Do I want to diversify my farms for whatever reason? Just because what if something happened to guard and whatever, well, maybe I want to be in this other one over here, whatever, right? Structure, those two, balance and structure kind of goes together. How many times do I want to be pushing buttons? Do I want to be dealing with raids? Do I just want it all in the auto compounder? Am I invested in the ecosystem of Night Swap / Wolf Den long term? And therefore, I personally don't want to auto compound because that actually drives down the price of the Night token. Not that it's going to dampen it to zero, but so do I want to be a better steward, a better custodian of the Night Swap ecosystem and not auto compound? That's structure and balance, right? And then you get to, once I have those three things taken care of, most importantly, the enough at the bottom, then I move into novelty and complicated stuff. Novelty, I participate in time collapsing projects, where I make $2,500 in 2 or 3 weeks or 2 or 3 days or whatever. Complicated stuff. Let's go back real quick to Kevin's question about how do I get money out? Let's say I had $10,000 worth of guard, or I had the guard BUSD LP, right? I started to draw that. Here, I can do it real quick without switching screens. Okay, so I have $10,000 guard BUSD LP. Okay, which means I have $5,000 of guard. I have $5,000 of BUSD. You with me so far?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let's say I split the LP. Can't spell here. Split the LP. That's going to give me my 5,000 of guard and my 5,000 of BUSD. I hold the guard in my wallet. I could, didn't mean to format it. I could stake guard for guard in a Citadel. I could borrow against my guard once the lending is opened very soon-ish. Not going to say when, but soon. I could take my BUSD to fiat, and that's my money, and that's my emergency money. Okay, so there's many ways I can do that. Now let's say you had 100,000 in there. Well, the game's quite a bit different now. You know, what if you had 50,000 in there, right? Like most emergencies are not going to be much more than $5,000 to $10,000 emergencies,
Right.
That you need money within 24 hours for, in particular.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so at that point, I'm going to say, okay, well, whatever. I don't know, whatever. Your truck blows up and you're waiting 45 days for insurance and blah, blah, blah. Well, I probably got a friend or a family that I can rent a car from for a little while. My insurance company is probably going to give me a rental vehicle, my refrigerator.
Yeah.
Well, you can buy $1,000 refrigerator or a $5,000 refrigerator, it's just, there's not that much. I guess the extremes would be human life is at risk, right? Like my child's in the hospital. Well, 99.9% of every hospital I know allows you to make payments. So,
Right. That's exactly right. Yeah, you're right on that 5,000. I can't imagine. I mean, a $5,000 emergency. That's a pretty big emergency.
My question was more of the difficulty of how hard is it to get money out if you need to.
Let me show you. I'm not going to do it, but I'll show you. Let's say
Like, how long does it take? Minutes or a day?
Minutes to, well, the slowest part is the centralized exchange, or if you use a DEX, you can do it with DEXs. The slowest part is them getting your money to your bank. Actually, that's not even the slowest part. The slowest part is your bank, quote unquote, receiving the funds that they want to hold for 3 to 5 days or whatever, But
Gotcha.
we just brought on a new international client a couple of weeks ago, and they wired us the money. So international denomination, fiat, wired to US dollar value to our bank. We had it in 2 hours.
Gotcha.
So again, and here's the thing, like, I don't usually look at minimums. I operate on what's called maximums. And this is starting to get deep into like wealth and that kind of stuff. But like, we try to keep a maximum of US dollar value in our bank. And then everything else is in assets or cash equivalents, stuff I can access quickly or easily. So I have a certain amount of gold and silver that I could go down to the local coin shop and sell it that same day if I needed quick cash. So we keep, depending on if you like Dave Ramsey or not, Dave Ramsey's great for some certain things in life. From an investing and business, I think he misses the boat in some places. That's personal opinion. God bless all the Dave Ramsey fans. So that being said,
Sorry, could you say that again?
No, my watch wants me to say it again. They want to record it. So they're trying to get me.
They're listening.
Amazon's listening. Okay.
Yeah.
So, so anyways, Dave would tell you, you want to have $1,000 in your emergency fund, then you want to work up to 6 months of emergency fund. And then you want to, pay off your house and blah, blah, blah. Okay. So that's not how the money world actually works. There's good debt and there's bad debt. There's productive debt. There's destructive debt. An example, using this exact same thing. Let's say I have an asset, guard BUSD. I don't want to sell my guard because I have a long-term belief in it. This is me personally. You can believe in something else differently. And so I don't want to sell it, but I will borrow against it. I have an asset that I can access cash from, and there's no risk there because I actually own the asset. Where we get into problems with debt is that I buy a depreciating asset called a liability, a TV, a car, some Gucci clothes or whatever, not that, I know lots of women that have Gucci and guys, but if that's your thing, cool. But yeah. So anyways, the wealth thing, the maximums, we keep a maximum dollar amount. We don't have 6 months liquid cash. Needing liquid cash 6 months worth, again, within 30 days, I can get that extra 5 to 6 months out of my assets. Even in the time of COVID. Okay. So it's, so I keep a reasonable amount, and that's different for everybody, right? Like my spouse, my wife, has a different amount that she feels more comfortable with than I do. I like a little bit more risk. So I'm willing to have a little less in there. So we come to a compromise. We go with her number.
The Wolf Den thing that started a year ago.
Roughly, yeah, it was like summer of last year. So, Nick,
how long have you been doing it?
September, October, off the top of my head. So like 6 to 8 months. A friend of mine has been in it about 8 or 9 months, almost from the beginning. Several other guys in there that I've built friendships and relationships with now started at the beginning. So the origin story, very briefly, is that Nick Peterson, the founder of the Wolf Den, he was in another mastermind called Moonshot. And there's a guy that is really experienced in the finance world, and he was teaching people how to recognize early projects. And so the time collapser, right? You put $500 in, and that turns into $50,000 or whatever, right? Which that's how most people do crypto and do investing in general, right? They buy low, hope to sell high, try to time the market, just like Kevin said earlier. What we're doing here is we're leveraging, not even leveraging, we're utilizing assets that have a real world dollar value because people believe in them. And we're using that to create more yield or cash flow, arguably, but I'm not creating cash. I'm creating a buying power asset, that Knight token, that DEX token, which, going back to the very beginning, Kevin said, banana. So before, what happened was Nick created this contract called Wolfies. He's like, I learned through doing stuff, so I'm just going to try to create a token on the blockchain. And these guys in the Moonshot Mastermind could look over his shoulder. So that actually ended up becoming wildly successful. That was not his intent. He was like, I'm just doing this for myself to learn. If you want to watch, great. So people were then like, why don't you start teaching this stuff? And he's like, well, I don't really want to teach how to do this, but like, he's got a lot of real world experience of wealth building and building companies to 7, 8, 9 figures, et cetera, and selling them. And he's like, I'll just kind of teach those principles, but use crypto as the vehicle. And so that's where Wolfies, that original token, is the currency. That's how you get into the Wolf Den, is by buying that and burning it or staking it for an NFT, like we talked about. So then he was like, okay, well, let's try to make this other token, Guard. He specifically designed Guard to be a treasury asset akin to Bitcoin. Okay. There's limited supply. You can ultimately, in a very short period of time, borrow against it. It's steadily increasing. There's several other aspects that make a treasury asset, but that's, anyways, he's got that. And then it used to be the pair for the base case used to be Guard BNB, but there was too much fluctuation in the marketplace. So they pulled it and made it Guard BUSD. So that's more stable. So they had this on other platforms. One was Banana, one was Lori, if I'm not mistaken. There was 2 or 3 other decentralized platforms they had it on. but they didn't want to give him the stability and the control that he needed to have his real world business people buy into this. So he said, well, I've got to create my own DEX. So that's what he did. He created his own DEX. And within about 2 to 3 months, it overtook all the other ones that wouldn't let him do the things he wanted to. So Nick is the founder of the Wolf Den. A lot of the methodology and IP is his, as well as his business partner, Dan Nicholson. And it's decentralized. I mean, one of the very first videos he said, he goes, I will not be doing this forever. Like, the diffusion of innovation is that somebody in this group is going to take this information and reimagine it for them and their audience or whatever, and then somebody else will be leading it. And so now they have what's called the Luna Den, which is a female focused group. It's a little softer around the edges, a little less language, led by a woman. You have people like myself that are taking it out into their community, to friends and families, that are re-envisioning it, so to speak, from I don't want to say a branding standpoint, but just a presentation standpoint. And like, okay, they want to do good in the real world through the Wolf Den. That's awesome. I want to do good in the real world through the Wolf Den / Kingdom Treasury, but I don't want it to just go to, the homeless population in Clear, Arizona. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I have other things that I'm passionate about. And so I want it to go to those things. So, and talk about real world, and I say Clear, Arizona, 3 people that are members in the Wolf Den just bought a town about a month ago in Clear, Arizona. They bought the town of Clear, Arizona. And then Nick, along with a couple of other people, just bought 400 acres, which has like 2 or 3 mountains on it. And I know Kim is familiar with Arizona Castle Hot Springs. They're basically building a Castle Hot Spring type community that is only going to be accessible. It's called Wolf Zen. It's only going to be accessible to people that hold the NFT for that, et cetera, and they'll have luxury micro homes on it and shooting range and all this kind of stuff. And the person that bought Cleater, Joe Polish and Jason Campbell, and I don't remember the third guy, they're very much into addiction recovery and supporting fallen first responders, like their families of that. So Clear, Arizona has historically an addiction problem and stuff like that. So literally they're buying the town, building the town treasury through the Wolf Den assets, the Guard BUSD and all that kind of stuff, and going to absolutely revolutionize those people's lives, Wow. So and that's basically what I want to do through Kingdom Treasury, just in the Christian world. Right. There's single missionaries that aren't a part of an organization, or small organizations, or just even one-off projects that I want to help fund and support.
Are you standing up?
Yep. Yeah.
That's what I thought.
That's how I get my figure.
Because we're all sitting down.
It's all good. It's all good.
Are you a Silver Guard holder?
No, I'm not a Silver Guard holder. I am in the leader tier. So what my intent in the Wolf Den is to get to Guardian tier. The only tier above Guardian is Dire Wolf. The only difference really between Guardian and Dire tier is your net worth. It's those two groups have like 99% of the same information and access to stuff, et cetera. Okay. I'm in the leader tier. The reason I'm at the leader tier is because Wolfies, the original Wolfies contract, ballooned in price and it got away from me. So what was going to be like $4,000 or $5,000 for me to get into Guardian tier was all of a sudden $50,000. And that wasn't a priority to me at that time. It's still a priority. It's just shifted priorities. So yeah. So like with Kingdom Treasury, somebody has access. Like I said, I haven't put a price on it. Let's just say it's $100, because I think that's probably a round number, and I know it's a round number, and it's probably an easy price point for people to enter. $100, and that goes to build the Kingdom Treasury to where it's not only my funds building it, and then people have access to me. And once I ascend to Guardian tier, which will probably be about 3 to 4 months, they have access to basically stuff that we're learning in there and so forth.
Yeah.
Did you have a question?
No, that was it. Okay. If we need more information, we can go to the Wolf Den online and
Yeah,
look
yeah.
at
Wolf
videos.
Den, I see he doesn't like my Kingdom Treasury idea.
No, what?
Yeah, no, I'm just joking.
No, I do. We need, I think we need to process this and talk about
get it.
about joining his Kingdom Treasury
Yeah.
foundation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because then that would give us really a better access to you and what you're learning in Wolf Den already.
Yeah. And you're not going to be one of a couple thousand people. You'll be one of a handful of people. And
Definitely.
yeah, and like, I'm not going to lie to you. There's some rough around the edges individual in there. And if people aren't able to think for themselves, they're quick to tell you. And so while there is some hand holding in there, what they don't want, which I agree with, is learned helplessness. Like, we have an issue in society where people don't know how to even Google stuff anymore, So, that's essentially the society we live in. And so in crypto, because it's the Wild West right now, people are going to hurt themselves. And so it's because they don't want them to hurt themselves. It's from a place of being kind and respectful, but it doesn't always come across nice. And I would say that I have, even though I would not call myself a patient person, I have a little bit more patience / certainly a lot more leadership over the decades that I can kind of handle some of that and make it a little softer, especially for the Christian audience. So yeah, but it's wolfdencrypto.com, if I'm not mistaken, is their website. And then if you go to medium.com, or even on their website, they have a link to their Medium, and there's articles if somebody wanted to join the Wolf Den. Like right now, let me just tell you real quick what it would cost. BUSD Wolfies. And it's like 1.6 million roughly. It's about $1,500 to join the Wolf Den at the Wolf Pup tier right now. So
I don't have any interest in joining Wolf Den.
yeah,
I like hearing the information. I have thoroughly enjoyed the few videos that were in your document that I've listened to. And you know me, I have no problem. I mean, I try not to do it myself, but
yeah,
the F-bomb, the rough around the edges, that bothers me none. I'm all about the information.
yeah.
But I have no desire to join them. I would honestly prefer to work with you and
Sure.
to be a part of Kingdom Treasury, because I
Sure.
feel like our values are more
Sure.
in line.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, so that's
So-
kind of where I am, and I don't
Yeah.
know that Kevin's given it much thought yet.
No, that's exactly where I am. I wasn't aware that this could be done through Kingdom Treasury.
Yes, it now can. Give me a couple hours to get that link set up. No, honestly, like,
Because I've been all over this website here, Wolf Den. I mean, I'm eating it alive.
Yeah.
As fast as my eyes can take it.
Absolutely.
At least an hour or two every day.
Yeah.
And it's overwhelming. I mean, it's like
Sure.
trying to take a sip of water out of a fire hydrant.
They say that all the time.
Get lost easy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you just had me lost back the last drawing you just did. I'm like, he's wasting his time now because I don't understand anything he's saying.
That's cool. And I totally hear you. Like, there's still some things that not to go
let me put it like this. I value your knowledge in this.
Sure. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah. I've invested the time. It's something I'm passionate about and enjoy. It's a hobby that arguably is profitable. Any money, whatever the fee for Kingdom Treasury is, does not go to me at all. It goes straight to the foundation. Transparently, the foundation has its own separate wallet and everything right now. I do not legally have it set up as a foundation with the IRS at this second, primarily for two reasons. One, when I wrote this document probably a month and a half, 2 months ago now, did it in a long weekend. Like, I was up, it just kind of, I was sitting there watching probably a basketball game with the family. And then all of a sudden it was like, God gave me this thing. And I was like, I got to get this out of my head. So I just, went through it. Stacy called it my magnus opus. And arguably, and I understand there's some clarity that I can even add into it and nuance and stuff to help people handhold them. But I was like, let me just put this out there and, obviously pray over it and share it with some people and get some feedback, because the last thing I want to do is step out in front of God. I've done that before, and you end up typically losing. So I'm like, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. That's one of Nick's sayings. And so I'm like, I'm just going to put this out there. And then, like, I had this idea a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, what if I started a Discord? And I had this idea, like, how do I fund this? How do I help people do this for themselves? But how do I also fund the Kingdom Treasury, so it's not 100% of our money going into it? What would that look like? And so I had this idea, well, what if I basically made the Wolf Den version of Kingdom Treasury, or for Kingdom Treasury, I should say. Obviously, I have to be careful because I'm not a registered financial advisor. I have no desire to be one. I don't want to tell people what to do with their money. I have no desire in that. But I also know that this is completely revolutionizing. And so, by having a small entry fee, looking at Wolfie, to get into the Wolf Pup tier, the lowest one being like $1,600. Heck, I could charge $1,000 and it would be worth it. I don't think I'm going to do that, but it would still be a greater value, so to speak. And knowing that money isn't going to somebody's pockets, it's going to missions and missionaries, et cetera, like that, as soon as the treasury gets to a point where it can sustain. So there was part one, I didn't want to get out in front of God. Number two, because the treasury is small at the moment, it doesn't make sense for me to go and add all this extra paperwork and expense and everything up front to create the private foundation. And I didn't really know exactly how it was going to look until I started building it and getting down the road. So I think probably for me, this phone call here, this is confirmation that I need to do something. Let me transparently ask you, and if you want, we can stop recording, or I can just edit it out or whatever. But what do you think is a fair donation / gift? What's the value of this, so to speak? I mean, like, obviously we can pull up calculators and argue what the value is, but I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm trying to figure out, like, from the Christian community, what is this worth learning how to do for yourself, and knowing that whatever fee you pay is going back into the kingdom of God?
Okay. The first thing, number one, you already threw out $100. Number two is, are you talking, a one-time fee? Or you talk, and I'm assuming as this grows to the level that maybe you want it to grow or whatever, I'm assuming that those fees will actually increase for new people joining. So are you talking about a regular fee or a one-time right up front and you're in kind of thing?
Sure. Yeah. My initial thought was just one-time lifetime access type thing. What does lifetime access mean? As long as I'm able to, the provide proximity and access and hand holding. What will that look like? Will that be me later on down the line? I don't know. Will it become so big that it can't be solely me and I got to bring people on to do tiers like there are in the Wolf Den? It possibly. I just don't know what it's going to become, I know that, like, in the future, I'm going to have people that are helping to vet supportees, people that we support, because I don't want it just to go to anybody. And the Kingdom Treasury kind of ethos, the three things, is we help rescue, restore, and make resilient. So, which from a broad standpoint, I could fit just about any kind of Christian effort into one of those three. So we're very broad in that sense, but I don't want to have annual reviews per se, and every project be approved in order to receive funding. Like, that is counter to what the Kingdom Treasury is trying to do. That's very centralized. I want this donation, this giving process to be decentralized, but at the same time, I have to be a steward. So I have to have some method up front to vet people. And so, like, right now, there's missionaries that would be supporting from it, but we know them personally. Go ahead, man.
I think I look at it more like, for people that don't know this or new to it, or some that may know about it that aren't, the email you sent her the other day lays it all out right there. Somebody can take that information they want and turn and go and do their own thing.
Yep.
It's I think it's maybe geared more toward like Kim and I, where we don't know anything about that. And if you're willing to help and guide us, that's worth something to us.
Sure.
Me, it would be more beneficial for you to want to help us if we were actually giving you maybe a monthly or yearly percentage of whatever we earn.
Sure. So like to that, like that then does get into, I don't want to call it a Ponzi scheme because that's probably not the legal definition, but like me now charging a percent of whatever you make, like that arguably gets into money management and stuff like
That's
that.
a financial advisor.
I know.
Yeah, a financial advisor. But for the education aspect of how to technically do this stuff, and then you go and do whatever you want and you bounce ideas. What do you think about this? Well, it depends is going to 99.99% be my answer. But these are the questions I might ask myself if I was thinking about doing this. Does it move me closer to what I want? Am I clear on what I want? You know, that sort of stuff. Does it strengthen my position on the board or does it weaken my position on the board? You know, so empowering you to make decisions for yourself and be in control of this. And then if God leaves you to say, hey, Kingdom Treasury, you know, IRS number XYZ, whatever, I realize those are letters, but you know, IRS number, blah, 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 blah. Here's $100, here's $1,000, here's 20,000, whatever. Then yeah, like that. And at that point, it's going to be established as a actual foundation / trust, and people will get the right offset they would maybe want. Like right now, because regulation is still very unregulated in the crypto space. Off the top of my head, it's $15,000 or 15,000 fiat value of a crypto asset. You can literally give or transfer is what it's called to another wallet without reporting it type thing. I'm not a tax person, so check with your CPA before you quote me on that. But I was just talking to that with my CPA a couple of weeks ago. I believe it was like $15,000. And similarly in taxes in general, again, I'm not a tax person, is that I believe it's $12,500 you can gift, in the centralized fiat world without having to pay a tax on top of that gift type thing. So anyways, I'm not suggesting that you donate tens of thousands of dollars to Kingdom Treasury right now, unless God tells you to do that. But to whether it's a monthly fee,
I don't know. I was just throwing that out.
I want to be careful too, because I don't want to create a job for myself.
That's right.
I want to be inspired and passionate about this and want to help people. I don't want to have to feel like I have to.
I mean, a little while ago, you said it was $1,500 to join the Wolf Den
at the lowest tier. Yeah.
But and I don't know what that gets you paying for that, but if we wanted to get started trading, I say trading or buying.
Yeah,
if you wanted to set up your base case.
Set up your base case. That's right.
How much is that? 20, 50, 100?
He put that in the document. He gave some examples using a very conservative APY percentage. You put that in your document.
The question, the answer is in there, like below. I don't remember exactly what page it's on, but I give some spreadsheet examples. I also believe I linked to a spreadsheet that's like the base case calculator. I don't think it's called that, but where you can put in if my target goal. So listen, could you start with $1? Yes. Are you going to have more fees than worth $1? Yeah. So you shouldn't start with $1.
I got it.
My son Jackson started with $10.
Yeah, you just answered my question right there with that comment.
It doesn't matter.
Well,
I
it
mean,
does matter if you're gonna do the certainty app, that kind of thing, to figure out what your goal and reasons and purpose are.
Yeah,
for
but
getting
let's say
to
that your seed capital,
time. But
again,
right
let's
now,
say your goal is $10 million and you figure that your seed capital needed is $25,000. You can put
Yeah.
that all in at once, or you can put in $50 a month for the next 50 months.
yeah,
know?
well, my thing is this, and Kim's probably on the same page that I am on this part.
Uh-huh.
We don't want to throw a whole lot of money in
No.
there until we can figure out it's going to work for us.
Totally. And here's the thing,
And
you don't have to, because asymmetry is so to the upside, meaning the risk actually exists in not doing anything. Case in point, I put $500 into this time collapsing play. It netted me $2,500. Okay. The other day I put $750. This is me. I'm not telling anybody to do this because my numbers are different. My asset base in the real world is different than your asset base in the real world. So
right.
$500 to me may be nothing. $500 to you may be everything, right? To which I would say, don't put everything in. Put $50 in, put $100 in, test the waters. If you're going to move $5,000 for argument's sake from your bank account to crypto.com, I would not do $5,000. I would do $10. Make sure you got the process right. And then once your $10 gets through, do $500. Okay, whew, $500 went through. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
Get a base case going and saying, hey, this is working, this compounding stuff, it's working. Okay, I'm ready to now put another additional $2,000 in, or
correct.
what.
And the caveat I will say is that, and this gets a little bit into math, so I'm going to try to keep us out of the weeds. $500 working for you, auto compounding in anything, but specifically in the base case, is not going to move you as quickly as if it was 5,000 or 50,000 or whatever, because there are people in this that have multiple millions. And so you're earning a percent, you're earning based upon your ratio, your percent of the pool. Okay. And blockchain is coded in token emissions, not in dollar value. So every dollar value and percent you see on any user interface, any website, is strictly for our centralized finance brains and calculated after the fact.
Right.
Everything is programmed in token emissions. So if there are 100,000 night tokens available every single day across all the farms, because that's hard coded, then farm A has a multiplier of 45 and farm B has a multiplier of 1. Farm A is going to get 45 times the ratio of the other farm. And again, I know I'm getting into the weeds. All that to say that you're going to see faster results. You're emotionally going to be more excited, with 500, 5,000, 50,000, whatever. I would never ever suggest, I'd never suggest anybody to do anything with their money. B, I would never recommend, like, if you were on your deathbed and like, Jason, I need to know what to do with my money, I'm dying. I'm still going to tell you, I wouldn't do it all in here, because that's not good stewardship. So, I personally, my family have converted a lot of our assets from the real world into the decentralized world. I have converted a lot of our blue chips, Bitcoin, Ethereum, the ones that have been around for 5+ years, Bitcoin's 12 years. I've converted that over to Guard because I have seen the math. I know people personally that have experienced it. I personally have experienced the way that even though Guard BUSD LP pair shows 7%, the target is 70%. Well, how come it's target 70%, but you're only earning 7% in the UI? It's because it doesn't account for token appreciation, for one, and you're also not accounting for the fees that you're earning because of the trading / swapping that's going on behind the scene. Not that you're doing, but because you're providing that liquidity to make that happen, you're earning transaction fees behind the scenes. So anyways, I'm really in the weeds at the moment.
I get that. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
As
So, like I said, on Binance Smart Chain, honestly, like I would really recommend like at least 100, just because you have to realize you're going to lose a little bit for fees, and you want a little bit of something in there just to see it working.
Right.
If somebody put $100 in to the base case, I would tell them don't look at it for 2 to 3 weeks and put it in the auto compounder. Just let it sit. If somebody had 1,000, 10,000 or whatever, I'd say, yeah, maybe you want to put some of it in the auto compounder. Maybe you want to put some of it in the manual farm so you can push some buttons. Maybe, you want to put some of it on the Phantom network to get a little bit more upside. So there's different ways to look at it, but it depends on, that goes down to that triangle I showed you. How much novelty and fun do you want to have pushing buttons versus what do you actually need structure and balance wise to achieve your financial goal? Kevin's standing.
Okay.
He must be done.
He's got to go.
Okay.
Yeah, his head.
So let it percolate. Let it percolate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Let us think about it and talk about it. And I probably speak for him, but I know I really appreciate your time. I like what we've heard a lot. I feel less scared.
Sure.
So that's a good thing. I
Yeah.
think I feel less concerned about it. I think I'm very interested in partnering with you in Kingdom Treasury in order to get your support. And something you didn't mention, but I'd like to, is that, the more support you give us in the long run, the less we will need.
Absolutely.
So, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. I don't want it. I don't want a job. I
Right.
literally,
Right.
the vision God has given me is to fly around the world and quote unquote give away money. That means I need to be available anytime, anywhere, any place.
That's right.
So
Right.
I'm buying a Learjet. No.
Vision to have. I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good
Yeah.
vision.
So
Okay.
anyways, yeah. Okay, guys. Kim, if you have questions, feel free to hang on.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I in my mind, like a suggested donation of $100 seems fair for as far as getting more of the hand holding and education approach. If somebody wants to donate more than that, they can. The question becomes, do I accept that in fiat, which I can do? I have actually a Give, Send, Go campaign I set up for fiat. You'll see on the website at the bottom or close to the bottom. And then I also have wallet addresses for Kingdom Treasury if somebody wanted to donate stable coin or whatever. Again, if somebody has zero into crypto, they're better off just doing the Give, Send, Go and doing it that way. If somebody is already involved in crypto, then they're probably comfortable just sending the wallet address. So yeah, so I kind of had that already built in. And I just basically need to set up the Discord server, which I won't have time to do today, but probably this weekend or within a week, I'll get a Discord server up. Meanwhile, you have my text information. You can text me, etc. And yeah, I'll probably review my document and just make sure that I have in there some of the actual like step 0 through 5 to get onto the base case. Like here are your 2 or 3 options or whatever. So
yeah, that would help.
Yeah,
cool. That would be good. We will, we'll be in touch for sure. Cause I know we're interested and it's just a matter of getting us both on the same page. Apparently he knows way more about it than I do, which I'm kind of surprised, but then again, not. So that's a good thing. And we'll let you know what we need next and what we want to do.
Yeah, we'll be in touch for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
All right.
I would say like the full onboarding process, give yourself about a week, so to speak. Like there's some things you have, like I said earlier, crypto.com wallet now makes you wait 24 hours before you transfer money out. So while you may have the money from your bank there already through the debit card, you're gonna have to wait 24 hours to transfer it out type thing, so in that case, it could be 24 hours, but if you do an ACH, well, then you got 3 to 5 days you're waiting, so it's just
right.
that's like the nuance of it, as far as how
Okay.
fast it can go. But once you're set up, like right now, if I wanted to add more fiat in, it'd take me about 30 seconds.
Right. Cool.
Oh,
All right. That sounds
Cool.
good. That sounds good, Jason. We appreciate it very much.
Okay.
Thank
Talk to
you.
you guys later.
Yep. That
Bye-bye.
sounds good. Thanks,
Amen.
Jason. Have a good
Bye.
one.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.